Welcome to the Den.
Welcome back, guys, to our 12th edition of the Den. Football season's coming to a close, guys. This is going to be our last episode. Caden, how do you feel? How do you feel the season went?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I think our podcast, especially a big success. And this will be the end just for football, though. We're still going to bring out episodes bi-weekly for you guys.
Covering all the other sports that we got. Diving into the podcast this week, obviously early signing day was last week for all these high school seniors who are going to go play college football next year. So we're just going to go over a couple of the biggest commits and the biggest signings in all of Central Florida.
Yeah, real quick, right before that, what'd you think of Alabama's signing day posters? See what those look like?
Oh, those are ugly. Those are disgusting. I
imagine working like your whole life. And
those are terrible.
Get a little block picture of yourself.
Yeah, I would have decommitted right away. All right, obviously the biggest news, Brady Hart flips from Michigan to A&M. Originally a class of 2026 commit, he flips to the class of 2020, or he reclasses to the class of 2025, and he will be joining A&M after this season. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I don't blame him at all. A team like Michigan paid a kid $12 million to come to their program. I mean, Brady Hart's got to feel disrespected, honestly.
Absolutely. And, with the reclass, it feels like Hart's pretty much accomplished all you can at the high school level, really. He's won a state championship. He's playing in another one this week. We'll get to that later. He's had a great career. I don't think there's much left for him at the high school level.
And like when you get to that college level early, you can even go to the draft. I mean, if he's planning that far ahead, go to the draft early. And a team like A&M almost made college football playoffs this year. A team like Michigan barely made a bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. A&M is a good fit for Brady Hart, I'd say. A lot of great quarterbacks come from A&M. He'll be okay. He'll be 16 years old when he gets to the campus.
Wow.
He'll be 16. Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy.
That's insane.
He's got a lot of work to do with his body. I'd say he's got a very thin frame, but A&M will be able to put weight on him. He'd be better off gaining weight at A&M than he would in high school. And obviously a lot of his other players at Cocoa have also signed, the biggest players on the team. Javon Boggs signed Friday with FSU. After Gus Malzahn was fired at UCF, he becomes the OC at FSU. Boggs follows him there. What do you think about that one?
I don't know. I think following that coach is a little strange. I don't know if I would have followed him, but and FSU, traditionally a great football program. So I'm sure, that's a good move for him, staying closer to home.
Absolutely. As a UCF fan myself, got to bring a little bit of bias into this. I was upset. I think Boggs could have been an instant impact guy at UCF, but Florida State's receivers were nothing special this year. He'll probably go and be an instant impact there too, honestly. Another Cocoa player, Javion Hilson, the a top-ranked edge rusher in the entire class, ends up signing with Missouri. A bit of a surprise. A lot of the rumors going out there, that was a big NIL bidding war right there. It was just whoever had the most money, that's where Hilson was going, and you got to respect it.
Yeah, he was super dominant this year, and Missouri, they got themselves a good rusher.
Yeah, Missouri, the number one edge rusher from last year committed to Missouri. He just announced his transferring, so Hilson's going to have opportunity to get in there and play right away. So that's a great opportunity for him. Next up, we got West Orange safety Ivan Taylor. Sticks with Bama. Obviously a good spot. Bama, known for producing safeties. I think Taylor's going to do good there. Taylor, not a player we've talked a lot about at West Orange. He's very fast, very physical. A really, really good signing for Alabama.
Yeah, West Orange not really full of stars except for this guy. I think that was their standout player this year for sure.
That was their biggest stud this year. Another player we have talked about a lot and we will continue to talk about during this podcast, Tavion Swint announces he will be signing with UCF, signed with them last Friday. That's a big get for UCF. He's been committed to UCF for the last 2 years. After the coaching change, there was a lot of worries that he could be flipping to maybe Florida State, maybe Miami, but he announces he will be sticking with UCF.
Yeah, UCF had a great run game this year. Two great runners, R.J. Harvey, obviously the star, Penny Boone behind him. So opportunities are opening up for a great runner.
Yeah, this isn't the first big-time recruit UCF's pulled out of the Central Florida area. Last year they signed Stacey Gage as well. So this is going to be a really, really talented backfield at UCF. And it makes you think that UCF's running backs coach, Cam Martin, a lot of people in the fan base are worried he could be leaving with the new head coach. But Tavion Swint announcing he's signing with UCF, I think that's a good sign that Cam Martin will be staying. Another Osceola star, 4-star linebacker Elijah Mendez signs with Auburn. A bit of a surprise. He's been committed to Miami for a while, ended up decommitting, flipping to Auburn. Obviously, Auburn is very wealthy when it comes to NIL, so you have to think that had something to do with it, but they get a really good player there. Very fast, again, very physical. He's a stud. Max Buchanan next up, offensive tackle at Seminole, announces he'll be sticking with his commitment to Miami and signing. That's a really good get for Miami. Buchanan, he matches everything you wanted to tackle. He's big, he's long, he's athletic. It's a really good get for Miami, who has had great offensive lines these past couple of seasons. So you'll see me. He's a bit of a project. You'll see Buchanan starting probably by sophomore, junior year. It's not a guy who's going to be an instant impact, but still a good get for Miami.
All right, now moving on to our top matches of the playoffs. Obviously, since we haven't been here, we got some big Central Florida matchups to go over. Obviously, the biggest one, Lake Mary Seminole. It's a rivalry game. Everyone knows this game. Lake Mary won dominantly, 42-3.
Yeah, it didn't really look like much of a rivalry game. Usually those are notorious for being great games, but Lake Mary was just absolutely dominant over Seminole. Grubbs didn't even have to do much, honestly. 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. A very, very good game, but yeah, Seminole just looked like they weren't even in the same class as Lake Mary. They looked like they didn't belong. Lake Mary would go on to avenge their regular season loss to Dr. Phillips the following week, 24-13. Noah Grubbs, 227 yards, added an extra 49 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Really, really good performance from Lake Mary. Next week, they will be facing the 19th ranked team in the nation, Venice, in the 7A state championship game. That is a huge matchup for Lake Mary.
Yeah, it's a huge matchup. Obviously, congratulations. They made it to Miami, but Dr. Phillips, a team we really didn't think would get here, kind of the shock of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. No one thought Dr. Phillips was going to upset Lake Mary when they did, and honestly, even after the loss, I don't think anyone thought Lake Mary was going to lose to Dr. Phillips in the playoffs. They kept it close, though, 24-13 with a team like Lake Mary. That's pretty impressive.
Next up, Cocoa, a team we projected going to be dominant in these playoffs, beat Newberry 40-3. Brady Hart, 299 yards and 4 touchdowns. Next game, a closer one than Cocoa probably would have liked. They beat Cardinal Mooney 31-21. Brady Hart, an even better game, 508 yards, 3 touchdowns. Javon Boggs, his number one receiver, caught 17 passes in that one for 378 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is a ridiculous stat line.
Yeah, Brady Hart, as we said before, done everything you can at the high school level. I feel like this game really stamped it. 508 yards and 3 touchdowns is incredible. Obviously, his number one target throughout his career, Boggs, with 378 yards. I don't know. You don't see stat lines like that very often from a receiver. That's a quarterback stat line if I've ever seen one. Next week, Cocoa will go on to face the 4th-ranked team in the state, Gadsden County. That's going to be a huge game. Cocoa obviously looking to repeat as state champions and really put a stamp on this big 2025 class. Obviously, we said Boggs, Hilson, and now Hart out. So look to next year maybe for Cocoa, a bit of a rebuilding year, and this is the last chance for that 2025 class to really stamp their season and their careers.
Next team, we got Jones. We talked about them a lot this year, undefeated. To be the only undefeated team in Central Florida that we had in our rankings. They beat Vanguard 27-13. Darion Coleman, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns. Vernell Brown, another great game from the 5-star, 112 yards and a touchdown. Just very impressive for them. Next up, they beat 20th ranked Naples 18-7. A little bit of a weird scoreline there, but that's a big win.
Yeah, against Naples, I think the biggest clip that went viral online was Vernell Brown almost catching about, I think it was like a 60, 75-yard bomb from Darion Coleman. Just overthrew it a little bit, but Vernell Brown, a lot of Gators fans got excited when they got to see that speed, even though he didn't catch it, but he was moving there, and that clip went really viral in the Gators community. They're very excited to have him next season.
Yeah, as a Gators fan myself, looking at our roster, and we're losing a few good receivers this year.
Next week, Jones will be facing the 23rd ranked team in the nation, American Heritage, in the 4A state championship game. American Heritage is a dominant program every year in Florida. They produce 5-stars every year. They put a lot of talent out there. Brandon Innes at Ohio State was a 5-star receiver, just to name one, coming out of American Heritage. That'll be a really good game. Any predictions for that one?
Jones has been so dominant this year. Obviously, Heritage, a great heritage in the state of Florida with their – never mind. But, yeah, I do think Jones will take that one in a close game. Probably not too high scoring, something like that Naples game. I guess I'll go 24-21.
That's not a bad prediction. All right, next up, Osceola. A team no one expected to be here. Like we said with Dr. Phillips, they're a lot like that. Osceola coming into the season, they had no passing attack, still have no passing attack. They pulled off an upset over top 10 Armwood 17-7, thanks to 147 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground from UCF commit Tavion Swint.
Yeah, it's kind of like putting Army in the college football playoffs, and it's working out. It's working out here. So.
Yeah, if Army made a tear in the college football playoffs, this is what this looks like. The next week, they also beat Buchholz to receive a bid to the 6A state championship game. Tavion Swint followed up his impressive performance with an even better one, 199 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Teams are stacking the box to stop him. They're putting 8, 9, 10 players in the box, and no one can stop this kid.
Yeah, a little bit like Ashton Genty out there. It's very impressive, putting up quarterback numbers as a running back.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, As a UCF fan, I am so excited to get this kid on campus. He is going to be absolutely dominant. Osceola will face 23rd ranked West Boca in the 6A state championship game. Again, I mean, if I would have predicted Osceola to be in a state championship, that would have never been something I even thought about, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you for your prediction, and I think I know where you're going, but hey, they would have been predicted against every time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you know what? Osceola, they've made it this far. I'm going to give it to them. I think they're going to win.
Wow.
It's going to be low scoring, obviously, with that run game. I think Tavion Swin's going to do a lot against West Boca Raton's front. I'm going to give it to them 21-14 Osceola. I think Swint puts up a 3-touchdown game. He's going to score every point for Osceola, and I think he's going to have at least 150 yards, at least. Probably closer to 200.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I have to go West Boca here. I mean, these other teams let up the run, but West Boca will 100% be 100% based on Swint.
There's a reason they're in the state championship game. They know what they're doing, but I'd say the same for Osceola. No one's been able to stop him yet. I don't see why West Boca Raton's going to do it now.
Next up, we got a Central Florida matchup. O'Galley, a team we had really highly ranked this whole season, versus Bishopmore, a team that was kind of on the outskirts, and it was a great game. O'Galley barely held off Bishopmore 26-24. A lot closer than a lot of people would have expected, especially because Bishopmore, they were a little inconsistent this year with some of their matchups.
I would have predicted this game. I would have had O'Galley absolutely killing Bishopmore, so good on them for keeping it close. That's really impressive. They showed a lot of fight, a lot of toughness. Bjorn, obviously, we love Bjorn here on this podcast. We think he's a very underrated prospect. Threw for only 156 yards and a touchdown. But he also added 52 yards and a touchdown on the ground, too. Something we've known he can do. He's a great runner.
Yeah, I mean, if he could have maybe had a better game out there, you probably could have seen them win. But, I mean, I'm sure the game planned for him. Great quarterback.
It wouldn't have mattered in the end, though. It really just would have been a win for pride because O'Galley went on to lose to Northwestern 40-0. Obviously, no stats available for that game. I wouldn't want to put my stats in if I got beat 40-0. They can't be good. But
yeah, I mean, this is a team we talked about all year. We said they're good, but are they going to be able to beat one team in the playoffs? This wasn't even that team. I mean, this Northwestern team put the respect on their name.
Absolutely.
Apparently.
A 40-0 game against a tough squad like O'Galley, who has a lot of talent all around the board. It's just really impressive, honestly.
All right, guys, it's going to wrap up our podcast as well as our football talk this year.
Absolutely. I had a great time talking football with you, Caden. This is something I've always wanted to do since I was a freshman here. I think a lot of people are underinformed on high school football, and that was my goal, is just to inform everybody I can about how good of a sport it is, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I came into this class hearing about a podcast, and when the idea of high school football was pitched, first thing I thought, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I've learned so much about the sport, and just being able to talk about it, it's just really good information.
Absolutely. A great season. Obviously, like we said before, we'll be back after winter break talking about the winter sports and the spring sports, including basketball, lacrosse, boys volleyball, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see you guys then.
Yep. Check out all of our other media, oviedojournalism.com. It's Oviedo Now, our friends podcast. And yeah, have a good one, guys.